Good. Here is a question from Robin, and he's actually asking this on behalf of someone else. So he says, "My humble obeisances, Acharyaji. This is a question from an anonymous friend who is unable to attend, and this is the question: The guilt of something I've done is eating me up every day, and I'm afraid I have caused harm to someone and harmed my relationship with the Lord. Please guide me through it." Absolutely. Well, Robin, thank you for asking that question from someone you know, from a friend. And let me just say right here and now, this sadly will be the last question I think that I'll take, because I do need to go into this in depth, and I want to end with this. So for those who asked more questions, I apologize very deeply, but let me definitely answer this. What it means to be in the material world is that we make mistakes. Why? The vast majority of individuals operate out of ego and illusion. Ego and illusion. Ego meaning false identity. We make the mistake of creating an artificial self. That being the case, rather than serving our actual needs, that is the needs of the soul, we serve the needs of that artificial self. Oh, and that causes us to make many, many, many blunders in life. But also illusion. Illusion. Illusion is something where you think something is the case and it's not. Illusion is something in which you're walking down the street and you look down and you see a snake and you jump up in fright, and then you look again and you realize, oh, it wasn't a snake to begin with, it was just a rope, and it looked so much like a snake that in my mind I thought I saw a snake. That's the nature of illusion. Well, as individuals who suffer from such illusion in this world, oh, we make mistakes. But more, there are mistakes, but then there are situations in which we consciously choose an unethical path. We choose to harm someone. We choose to do something that is not good. We'll lie to someone. We will, in a deeper way, harm someone physically, emotionally, etc. A million examples that I can use. Well, this is an ethical shortcoming on the part of an individual. And this is even more important than, just making a mistake. Again, you can make an illusory mistake. You thought something was X, it was Y. But now when an individual goes out of their way and chooses to do something that is harmful, that's definitely a terrible thing. But at the same time, we need to, as an individual who, if we are sincere, if we ultimately want to be spiritual, if indeed we want to know the Lord, if indeed we want to grow spiritually, we need to be very objective and sincere with ourselves about this. Was it good that we chose to do an unethical thing? No, never. Never. We should not choose to do unethical things. But at the same time, we need to also see this objectively. That's the nature of the material world. People often choose to do unethical things. That being the case, you're not the only creature in creation who has done an unethical thing or who has harmed someone. Now that you have acknowledged this, now that you have felt guilty about this, and let me tell you, I'll be honest with you, I've said this many times, but now let me say it in this very clear-cut sort of way. The only time that individuals should feel guilty about something, the only time, is if they chose to go out of their way to do harm. Again, many people will make a legitimate mistake, and they'll feel guilty, and I'll say to them, no, you don't have to feel guilty. That was a true mistake. When a person chooses to do harm, yes, guilt should be associated with that. If you don't have that guilt, that means by definition you're a psychopath. A psychopath is an individual who will do tremendous harm and they feel no guilt. That's a psychopath. You don't want to be a psychopath. So that being the case, if you have chosen to do harm and you feel guilty, that's all right. Know that you're human, and that the fact that you feel guilty means you're a good person. It means you feel bad that you did something terrible. Now, that being said, you cannot allow yourself to give in to guilt for the rest of your life. No, on the contrary. Now, as a person who is indeed spiritual, because that's what it sounds like, you say here that you're afraid that, you may have damaged your relationship with God, with the Lord. So you're obviously a spiritual person. You're obviously a sincere person. You're a good person. But yes, maybe you chose to harm someone, to do something you shouldn't have. You have felt the requisite guilt for that. now indeed is the time to, instead of reveling in that guilt, instead of burying yourself in that guilt for the rest of your life, now you do need to go past it. Indeed, what this means is, whatever you've done, and I don't know what it is, and you don't even need to say it or tell me in any way, whatever it is, need to offer recompense for it. That is, the person you've harmed, you should apologize. Anything that you can do to correct the situation. You stole something, I'm just using examples. Oh, you stole something, give it back. You can't give it back because it's gone now. Give them, the same remuneration. Give them money, give them something, such that now they're whole again. Ask them for forgiveness. And if they don't forgive you, accept that. Just accept it. Just say, all right, I understand that you're not ready to forgive me, and move on. You don't keep begging them and bothering them to forgive you. Hopefully they will in time. Again, they're a free will agent as well. But you must ask them for forgiveness. You ask God for forgiveness. And now, having done that, now, practically speaking, use this unethical conduct that you engaged in as something that now, at least didactically, is a good thing. Learn from it, in other words. You did this terrible thing. You shouldn't have. You felt guilty. You have done what you need to now to make up for it. You have apologized to the person. You have apologized to God. You have tried to offer back to the person, try to heal the person, etc. Now, having done all that, now learn. And say to yourself, I'm never doing that again. And indeed, allow this to be more fuel for you to continue to grow spiritually. And you see how in this way, this is the marvel of God's world, of God's creation. We did something bad, and now that very bad thing itself, we haven't made it good. No, it's still, it should not have happened. But the fact that it happened, we can now use as a good thing for ourselves to now grow spiritually. Now redouble your effort to be a good spiritual person, to be an ethical person, to be someone who not only do you not want to ever harm again, but on the contrary, that's the negative. That's a negation. Oh, I will not harm. More than that, make yourself into someone who positively wants to bring joy to people's lives, wants to bring good to people's lives, wants to help people, to benefit people, etc. And in this way, you have taken your own personal experience of having done something bad, and now you've learned from it, and now something good will come as a result of this. Grow deeper in your own virtue and in your own desire to always do good, always do good, always do good. And understand that as far as your relationship with God, nothing can truly damage your relationship with God. Let me assure you of this. If you choose again and again and again repeatedly to do unethical things, to harm people, you yourself are creating increasing barriers between yourself and God, such that you will not be able to perceive God as well as you would have ordinarily. But being truly separated from God, that's an impossibility. Indeed, I've said this before, this is the nature of God, that God is omnipresent, that there is nothing anywhere within the material or the spiritual world that is not interpenetrated with the very presence of God. That being the case, God is always with us, and God sees us always at our best, at our worst, and God does not leave us. We've all experienced this in our lives. We've had people who have left us. Friends, family members, people who, they abandon us, they give up on us, they betray us, etc., etc. Who's that friend who I had when I was a kid, for 5 years, 10 years, and I thought we'd be together forever. Yeah, when's the last time I called that person? 20 years ago? God is that friend who never, ever, ever leaves us. Always understand that. And when we are at our best, when we are at our worst, God is there, loving us. God's love for us as Atman is truly unconditional. And that being the case, ask God for forgiveness. but understand that you're already forgiven. The asking for forgiveness is an exercise for you. You're not persuading God of anything. God already forgave you. So please don't worry. Do not worry. Don't do anything bad again. Never harm anyone again. But at the same time, continue joyfully on your path to knowing God, and know that you will. Very good.